All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a pretty fundamental shift in how we look at strategic decisions. We're going to move beyond these simple, static pictures of competition and into something that feels a lot more like a living, breathing simulation. So let's explore how game theory is basically being reimagined from the ground up. It really all starts with this massive, almost impossible question. I mean, think about the global economy or complex military strategies or even entire ecosystems. How on earth can you model a game where the players, the rules, and the environment are all changing all the time? It's one of the absolute biggest challenges in game theory. So, to even begin to wrap our heads around a question that big, we have to start with the bedrock. We have to talk about the one concept that has dominated strategic thinking for what? Over 70 years now. And that is the Nash equilibrium. So, what exactly is it? Well, put simply, it's a point of stability. It's at one specific situation in a game where every single player has chosen the absolute best action for themselves, assuming they know what everyone else is up to. It's a state of perfect, rational balance. And this right here, this is the key. If you're in a Nash equilibrium, you have absolutely zero reason to change your strategy on your own. Why? Because if you switch things up while everyone else stays put, you'll actually end up worse off. It's kind of like a strategic deadlock. Everyone is locked in. But, and this is a big but, here's the twist. As powerful and as elegant as the Nash equilibrium is, it has some pretty serious limits. You see, it was designed for a world that's, well, a whole lot simpler than the one we're actually living in. And that's the crucial point, isn't it? Reality is not some clean, predictable board game. No, it's a chaotic storm of messy information, irrational moves, and constant, nonstop change. And trying to apply a static solution to a problem that's always moving, that's like trying to take a single photograph of a hurricane and claiming you've captured the whole thing. And this slide just lays out the disconnect perfectly. On the left, you've got the world of classic models. They're static, often just two-dimensional, and they kind of have to assume that everyone knows everything. But then you look to the right, and that's the real world. It's dynamic, it's incredibly complex with tons of dimensions, and it is just filled with chaos and uncertainty. The map just doesn't fit the territory anymore. So, this brings us to the core question of this entire explainer. If the classic tools, the ones we've relied on for so long, just aren't enough to capture the full picture, what's next? How do you create a model that can actually keep up with a game that never ever stops evolving? So how do we solve this puzzle? Well, some researchers are proposing a really radical new way to visualize these interactions. It's one that moves way beyond the flat, static page and into a dynamic, graphical world. And here it is. Now, don't worry about trying to read all the tiny text on this slide. It's straight out of the research paper. The key idea is what it's called, the Multidimensional Non-Cooperative Games Graphical Framework. Let's just call it the MNCGG framework. And its goal isn't to find one single point of balance. No, its goal is to map the entire unfolding process of strategic interaction. So what's it trying to do? Well, for one, it's designed to capture interactions as they're actually happening, in real space and time. It also aims to synchronize and visualize this huge network of moves and all their consequences. But here's what's most important. It is built from the ground up to model how systems become unstable and evolve, instead of just hunting for that one single moment of static, perfect balance. Okay, I know. This whole thing looks incredibly complex, but the idea behind it is actually built up from a really simple starting point. So let's peel back the layers a bit and take a look inside these dynamic disks. Okay, again, let's just ignore all the dense text for a second and focus on the concept here. The entire massive structure begins with one fundamental building block. They call it the nanodisk. A great way to think of it is like a single atom. It represents the smallest possible set of choices a player can make in any given instant. And from that single atom, it all scales up. You combine those nanodisks to form microdisks, which represent whole collections of strategies. Then those come together to form a general disk, which shows a sort of temporary shifting balance point. And finally, all of those are combined into the megadisk, which gives us a complete, dynamic view of the entire game in motion. Okay, so we've seen the building blocks, we see how they stack up. But what's the big payoff here? What does this new perspective actually let us see that we just couldn't see before? Honestly, it all comes down to this. Nash equilibrium gives you that single static photograph of the game, a snapshot in time. This new framework, well, it aims to be the full movie. It shows you not just the final pose, but how every single player moved and twisted and turned to get there. And right here, we can actually see visualizations from the model itself. Each one of these complex diagrams is like a map of a game in motion. Instead of giving us a single answer, the framework generates this dynamic map, showing how all the different strategies are interacting and evolving over time. You see, it's not about the endpoint, it's about visualizing the entire journey. So, the crucial takeaway is that this isn't just about abstract theory. This is about creating brand new tools to literally see the world differently. And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder. What kinds of problems could we begin to solve in economics, in politics, maybe even in biology, if we could finally see the hidden dynamic patterns that govern all of our most complex systems?